everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coast to Coast Connections this time. I'm Elizabeth Hines, and today we are taking you from Brentwood Bay to Cape Spear, Newfoundland. Our guest puts the word tire into retirement in a brand new way. After 36 years in the forest industry, he retired, he got up from his desk, and he decided to go for a spin. So he cycled across Canada from Brentwood Bay all the way to Newfoundland. 7,132 kilometers this gentleman did. And we're going to hear all about it today. Welcome, Charles Klasen. Very good to see you.
Nice to meet you too, Elizabeth. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It looks like you just rolled in from Newfoundland. You're wearing your road gear.
Pretty well, yeah. These are the shorts. This is one of the shirts, one of the two shirts that I had across the country. Definitely have to travel light when you're traveling across the country, that's for sure. So there's not many options. Yeah.
It's remarkable, Charles, because obviously you're not a man of 26 years. How old are you?
I'm going to be 67 next month, less than about 3 weeks. Yeah.
You're going to be 67.
Yeah.
So you did this trip during your 66th year, from last May to October 20th?
August
20th,
yeah,
pardon me. It was 88 days in total, I think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And 66 of those were cycling?
Very close, 67. Yeah,
67, almost the same as your age.
21 rest days, and 5 of those were actual mechanical problem days. So I guess 16 official rest days, yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 7,132 kilometers over 66 ride days is about 104 kilometers a day.
That's correct.
That's a lot of grinding. Whoa.
Yeah.
And just to get through BC alone, I mean, that's, we got a lot of mountain passes here.
You'd be surprised at how many there are, that's for sure. Especially, you really notice them when you're on a bicycle. Even the slightest grade can be quite something. But even across the whole country, there are, except for maybe Manitoba, which I think is kind of like the flattest province, levelest, everything has got hills.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're at, even in PEI and wherever. Yeah.
We have a lovely shot of you here in BC as you're setting out of the Fraser River, a lovely broad view of the Fraser River, looking very, beautiful May day it was. And then you got up to Yoho National Park, and they were under construction. What does a cyclist do?
Well, we stop at the Truffle Pigs restaurant, so a little bit of a thing for them there. And then you meet up with a guy named Andrew, who was also traveling across the country, and we managed to score a ride with one of the construction workers out there to get through that construction zone. And it was probably about 10 kilometers. It wasn't the only one that we had to go through, but we were obligated to take one. It was just far too dangerous for that 10 or 15 kilometer trip to be on a bike, that's for sure.
And how kind of them to load you up in their pickup truck and ferry you through this construction
We found that kind of kindness in this, me on my own and with others and with Andrew too. We found it all across the country. It was just amazing. Just loved it. Just absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Coast to coast kindness.
Oh yeah. It was overwhelming. Yeah.
And out of the 38 million or so people in Canada, you say about 50 of those were strangers, and now they're your new best friends.
Yeah, and I would say even lifelong friends, because I think we both made an impact. We all made an impact on each other. I made an impact on them just because they were all gaga about seeing me doing and hearing about this, and then with others too. And I felt the same way about the kindness that I received in return.
How lovely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's meet your bike, because your faithful steed here took you 7,132 kilometers.
Yeah.
What type of bike is this, and what was special about her?
Well, this is a touring bike. This is the Marin Four Corners touring bike. I bought it brand new last October, and I'd only had about 150 kilometers on it before I decided to go for my bike ride 7 months later or so. And it's meant to do just this sort of trip, because it's rugged, it's strong, it's definitely heavy. It's about 30 pounds, just the bike without fenders or anything on it. And then it did very well, actually. It had a few problems, like the tires were bad, but 17 flats later, I had everything corrected with 2 new tires, so that was good. I was very stubborn because I don't like to give up on stuff when it's brand new.
Yeah, I think your first flat was around Spence's Bridge there at a fruit stand.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, very hot. It was very hot in British Columbia, but I was so fortunate being able to be along the river to actually check out to see where the hole was in the tire, or I had my pot, which I use for cooking, and I would dip water in there from my water bottle, and that's the way I would discover a hole that way without the benefit of having a river nearby or a lake or whatever.
17 flats. You're a man who knows a lot about the ups and downs of inflation.
I'm going to start a new tire company across Canada.
The retired tire company.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. You don't have to be a retread.
No, definitely not. No.
So
but I got better tires now, way better. Yeah.
Just a little bit, let's backtrack just a little bit here. What was the motivation for doing this? What was your inspiration?
Just, well, it's like Forrest Gump said, he just wanted to go for a run. I wanted to go for a bike ride. And last Christmas, I'm sorry, not Christmas, but it was New Year's. I was at a party with my girlfriend and others, and we were having a good time. And the lady, the hostess, she said, why don't we all throw our envelopes in a hat with whatever you want to do for the following year, and then we'll open up next year and see if anybody accomplished them. So I happened to write about cross-Canada bike rides, so I felt obligated to do that. So I don't know, the way I look at it is it pays to write things down.
Wow.
You know, Everest is on there too, and that'll happen actually next October now. Yeah, so not actually the mountain. I don't want to climb up to the very top, but definitely be hiking way up there. Yeah, near base camp elevation sort of thing. Yeah, so that's also on the list too. So it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
You've got to write it down,
Yeah.
get it in that envelope.
Yeah,
And you're making it happen.
Yeah.
And you're in very good shape. Did you train for this, or have you been an avid cyclist all your life? Or
Well, I've cycled now up to somewhere around 70,000 kilometers all my life. I used to cycle between Duncan and Victoria to go to work. And then Duncan to Nanaimo to go to work. I did that about 60 times. So that's a fair bit of distance there. And I've always been quite active. I like to hike a lot. I've hiked in quite a few areas around the world. And I still hike to this very day. And I didn't really have to do too much. I did look up a video from a guy from Denver, Colorado there who also does touring. And he said, think of your first 8 days or so as boot camp. And that's the way I looked at it. And I tell you, that was a rough boot camp because it was hot. It was really hot. The end of May, if you can remember, that was the time when the fires were burning out of control in northern Alberta. There was a lot of concern there. And I had concerns about that myself because what was it going to be like when I got there, because it's very difficult to breathe. But I made it through. I got encouragement from my girlfriend. She says, just think about it as a work in progress and you'll get through it. So I just managed to slug it through. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Such determination. Where does that mental game come from? Where do you have that mental fortitude?
I think it just comes from being active and writing down your goals and persevering and just keeping going at it, and also just dealing with people. I love dealing with positive people. I get a lot of energy from them. I like to sort of like give back, if you will, to people too that are not having that kind of energy. There's a lot of complaints out there and people pointing the fingers at somebody other than themselves. You know, they point at the government or the corporations or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, think about what you're doing for yourself, you know. And I don't really get into an argument with them about that, but I just sort of say, okay, be that as it will, I'm just going to go my own way and just think positive thoughts and go with positive people as much as I can. And I love that. I just love that. Yeah.
You're just going to keep pedaling on.
Yeah, pedaling on. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And you ran into some really wicked weather, like not just the heat here in BC and the smoke, but tell us about this tornado near Brooks, Alberta. What a threatening looking cloud that is.
Yeah, it was quite something. There was actually a tornado 25 kilometers to the south that had touched down and did quite a bit of damage that day. I had been chased by a storm all day long for, I don't know, 120 kilometers or so. And I kept looking over my shoulder, wondering what was happening. And then I was confronted right at Brooks on the west side of it with this gigantic cloud formation, which turned out to be the tornado. I got rescued by a fellow, moved to the east side of Brooks, and that's where the tornado developed. And it never touched down. It didn't move that fast, but my God, did it ever pour out there. So I did the right thing, I think, by staying in a hotel nearby there. and yeah, just waited out the storm. It was crazy out there for sure. And it turned out to be quite a big, wide tornado too, because it moved down, then moved up. I've never seen one before in my life. And that was quite something to see it close by. I was, well, my heart was pounding a little bit. I can tell you that. Oh yeah, because you're on a bike and
When you're on a bike and you see a tornado, is it actually a cyclone?
A cyclone?
I'm kidding.
Think cyclones are more like hurricanes. Yeah, or cycle alone.
Cyclone.
Yeah.
You were cycling alone.
Yeah.
Man, that's a very scary thing. But again, a kind person came and took you off and it brought you to a safe place. You encountered that all along the way. Yeah,
well, it's really worrisome because you have lightning and thunder and there's nowhere to hide at all. You can't hide in a ditch anywhere near water.
That's
there's no, I mean, there's just the occasional telephone pole out there and they're way apart and there's just nothing out there and you're a target, you know, so yeah.
Well, you weren't a target, you were protected and
eventually,
pedal to safety, so that's good.
Yeah.
We have another picture. I mean, you were cycled alone, but as you say, you met all kinds of people along the way. There's a group of 6 of you at the side of the road here. This is a good story. And they were going in opposite directions, cycling across Canada like you were. Tell us a little bit about these band of brothers.
Well, I cycled on my own. I had no support at all. Everybody else was basically on their own, except for a couple of guys that were also from the Brentwood Bay area. And we happened to be cycling together at this particular moment because we were sometimes days apart from each other, but we just happened to be together that day. And we ran into this guy named Laurent from Montreal, he said. He was so proud of that. And he was going, in our opinion, the wrong way. When you're going that way towards the east, you've got the benefit of the wind some of the time. I would say probably most of the time, but anyways, and he had a rougher come in this direction. 26 years old, and he was just having a fun time. Anyways, and we just started talking, and we had just a great old time. I like to think of it as us blocking off the eastbound lanes, 2 lanes actually, of that part of Saskatchewan, I think we were in. Yeah, it was just past Indian Head, blocking off the highway there for about 20 minutes as we just gabbed and just told all sorts of stories. It was just so funny. Yeah, he was on his way to, this young fellow, he was on his way to meet girls and see the park and to see Western Canada. And we were on our own mission to go the other way, us older guys, generally speaking, you know, just to complete the trip, right? But anyways, he was just full of energy. He was just terrific.
Go and see girls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And in Saskatchewan, I think this shot is of Moosomin, Saskatchewan, with this incredible sunset.
Yeah.
Wow. This is a gorgeous prairie sunset.
There was quite a few gorgeous sunsets as I traveled across the country. That was definitely a big one. Yeah, that was a beauty. Yeah, seeing it set right there. Like sitting on the ocean, I guess, if you will. Like if you're in Mexico, for instance, you know, looking down out, the sun setting down. Stunning. As opposed to out here where you got mountains all around, right?
Yeah, stunning.
Yeah.
And Charles, the flies, the deer flies, the black flies, the mosquitoes, you were just chomped on all the way through the prairies in Ontario. Yeah. And we've got a shot of you wearing a very protective looking outer jacket, standing in front of your bivouac.
Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty nasty. I can stand a lot of mosquitoes. I used to live in Fort Nelson and in Vanderhoof. Fort Nelson is particularly bad for mosquitoes. They're the size of helicopters. That's what we always used to call it. But back there in Falcon Lake, especially there, Manitoba, Ontario border, wow, that was where that picture was taken at. That was the only time I had to break out the jacket. They were unbelievably nasty. And then crawling into the tent, that was equally,
they got in there too.
Well, yeah, there were, I would say probably as many as 100 mosquitoes in the tent at a time, that little bivouac. So you're out there with a headlamp and you're crushing 3 to 4 at a time and just trying to wipe them all out. And then of course you got to get up in the middle of the night to use the washroom or whatever. And yeah, if you're not careful, you could easily have 100 or more in there at any time of the night. Yeah, so yeah, you do what you can. Yeah.
We have a really cute shot here of one of your friends that you met enjoying, it's got to be in Saskatchewan, he's enjoying a slice of Saskatoon pie here. Yeah. And his shirt's the color of Saskatoon pie. You can't travel across Canada without having Saskatoon pie in Saskatchewan.
That's for sure. And this particular place was, I don't think it was even that old. It was like a Red Barn sort of store, country market. And I think it was family run. It was a nice store and all that. And we all agreed that we should stop in there. So there was the three of us, and we decided to have not just one slice of pie each. We said, can we have a whole pie and divide it in three? They hummed and hawed and they agreed, and we had the pie, and it was unbelievable. It was so incredibly delicious. We really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
A slice of heaven, especially after such a tough slog.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's nice at any time of the day. We were eating ice cream even in the morning. Yeah, we had to sometimes because it was just so hot out sometimes. Yeah. So
ice cream, not just a breakfast food.
No, breakfast of champions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What types of wildlife did you see along the way? I just want to backtrack just a little bit. You weren't following the Trans-Canada Highway. You were going side roads and highways as much as possible.
Yeah.
So to be safe and out of the major traffic. But wildlife, what did you see?
I remember a coyote, and it struck me, that was just outside of Kamloops, near Savannah. So this side of Kamloops, and this coyote was just wailing away there, howling away. And wow, nobody would have noticed it if they were in their cars, unless maybe they had the windows open, because it was quite a ways away, at least like 150 meters. But I heard it and I was just like, wow, isn't that beautiful? And it was like that in a lot of places, like especially on the side roads, I guess. I saw a ferret, we saw a badger, we saw a beaver. Oh, I saw a beaver. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of these animals. Even the two grizzly bears, that I ran to, these two teen grizzly bears up at Rogers Pass, they frightened me.
How close were they from you?
They were probably at the beginning about 200 meters away, but then I guess they saw me, and then they came down along the barrier, those concrete barriers there. So they were on the lower side of the road. That's where I was. I was on the left-hand side of the road, hoping to avoid them. But anyways, they came down the hill, and they weren't racing, but they were certainly coming towards me. And the park ranger fortunately came along and picked me up and said, I'll take you up to the Illecillewaet Glacier campground and so get you out of harm's way. And then it was okay after that. But I ran into a few black bears.
The kindness of the ranger.
Yeah, exactly. They don't normally do that because of legal obligations or whatever, insurance, that sort of thing. But this is a life and death situation. You don't mess with grizzlies. These guys were pretty frisky.
Wow.
Yeah. But there were black bears. There was a moose. And I'm not talking Mac the moose and Moose Jaw. I'm talking a real moose there that was out, I think, in Saskatchewan. And deer, magpies, cranes, red-winged blackbirds, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All the animals that are featured on our coins.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a traveling coin collection.
Yeah.
And our dollar, our paper money as well.
Yeah.
So we've gone through the tornadoes. We've had 40 days and 40 nights of rain almost. This was like epic proportions in the Maritimes. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But these flies that, chomp their way through, you actually, that was the only sort of injury that you incurred because it sort of put you out for a few days at Lake Charbot near Kingston, Ontario.
Yeah, near Kingston.
We have a beautiful shot of the lake itself and the dock there.
Yeah.
But you were having to be treated medically because of these bites.
Well, no, actually I didn't. I had to be treated medically for another injury I had in field where I stupidly walked up these concrete stairs and I slipped. Anyways, that was bad. But that thing with the deer flies, they chomp right through, like I had my fingerless type bicycling gloves and they were deer flies, they're like black flies. They take a bite of meat and then they lap up blood, right? And I had as many as 4 or 5 of them on my hands at a time, just chomping away. And it was just ugly. My hand swelled up pretty bad. My eye swelled up. I thought I had a piece of something in my eye, but my eye almost glued shut. And that wasn't very pleasant. So I got a lot of ice that night and that helped enormously. But fortunately, no medical attention. One guy suggested using metal or whatever, but no. The ice worked very well.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's amazing that was sort of your only injury was and your injury was not on your bicycle when you slipped on the stairs there. So
which was
Marin did you well.
Yeah, which was really weird. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. We got a lovely shot of you in the nation's capital, Charles. How did that feel to be in front of the Parliament buildings? I mean, that's a long way from Brentwood Bay, BC. What were you feeling that day?
It was, I think it's 4,700 kilometers. Yes, it felt absolutely terrific. I arrived the night before. I arrived at 10 o'clock at night to see the what's it called? The Northern Light show that they had on there.
Oh.
And they light up Center Block, which is what you see in the image there of Parliament Hill. And they light up the Senate and whatever other area there. Anyways, it's just amazing. And they go through the whole history of the country. But I just felt so grand, so happy. I spent several days there. I've never been to Ottawa before. And I don't know, I was just so immensely proud of our country. Still, I always will be. It just was amazing. I wanted to meet the Prime Minister, but unfortunately with the email thing, it just didn't work out too well. He has other things going on, but it was okay. It was no big deal. I just thought that would be kind of cool. I achieved above and beyond what I wanted to do. It was just amazing, yeah. And I definitely am going back. Absolutely, it's an amazing city, yeah.
Ontario was your longest province. I think it was 23 days that you were cycling through Ontario.
Yeah, yeah, approximately. I think we had a couple of rest days in there, but yeah, it was right around 23 days. It's gigantic. It's like British Columbia on its side, or I guess any province on its side. And it's sort of like going from this bottom left-hand corner to the top right-hand corner, so you're even doing more. At least it seems that way, and it's a long ways across. It just takes forever. And Lake Superior, which I think is 700 kilometers of shoreline, all the way to Sault Ste. Marie, something like that. That took a long time to get across from Falcon Lake, basically. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's quite a stretch. Yeah.
And here you are at the statue of Terry Fox in Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Yeah.
How are you feeling that day to see him there?
Oh, I thought what he achieved was just incredible. Absolutely. I bowed down to a fellow like that. It just felt so grand, and what a monument it is. It's really quite terrific. It's not that far out of Thunder Bay, but it was apparently the terminus of where he ended his trip. He started in St. John's, and I didn't know that, but yeah, he made it all that way, and I basically followed more or less the same path that he did. Yeah, give or take, all the way back to what he did. And to do that walking and in the condition he was in, it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, I felt very good. Yeah, and what a monument it was.
Yeah, and another epic Canadian moment for you as well.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
really touch your heart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They've got a Terry Fox named highway out there. I'm pretty sure part of it is called Terry Fox. Quite a length of it. I don't know how far it goes, but whatever.
Awesome. Yeah. And you said you fell in love with Quebec. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Laurent would want me to pronounce it Quebec.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, it's yeah. I remember being in Montreal. I've always wanted to go to Montreal because my favorite hockey team of all time, the Montreal Canadiens, play there and all that sort of stuff. I was with some really good family friends. They showed me around Laval, Montreal. We went to all sorts of diners and all that sort of stuff. It was just amazing. And then when I was out on the way out of there, I ran into a couple who said, just wait till you get to Quebec City. And I said, oh my God, that's got to be really something. And it was. Oh boy, Quebec City, I implore everybody to go and see this country. Like, instead of spending all your time going down south to Florida or Hawaii or Mexico or wherever it is, go and see your country. It's just amazing, and Quebec City is stunning beyond belief. Yeah, it really is, and the rest of the whole province too. Yeah.
A beautiful shot you took from the Chateau Frontenac of the river there, looking down and out. And the other thing was the waterfalls there. Sorry,
Montmorency.
Thank you, Montmorency, which are about 30 meters higher than Niagara Falls.
Yeah, they are bigger.
Yeah. And there's a shot here, and you can see the walkway that arcs above the falls there. And that's quite a landmark. I've never seen those falls. I didn't know we had falls bigger than Niagara in this country.
Well, it's not by volume; it's by height, right?
Height, yes.
And Niagara, I've been there too, and Niagara, of course, is fantastic, especially the Canadian side, I find anyways. But Montmorency, wow, it's really quite spectacular. And for that matter, there's another falls called Kakabeka, which is just this side of Thunder Bay. And it's, I would say, pretty close to the same size as that Montmorency Falls. Like, it's really quite something, So they've got no shortage of water out there, I can assure you. Yeah.
And then you crossed into New Brunswick, I think was your next stop. We've got some of the lovely red rocks there, the rock formations. Or is that PEI?
That's PEI.
Sorry.
You're thinking of PEI. Yeah. But
I think we've got the big lobster in Shediac, New Brunswick.
that's
That's
the one.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
The lobster capital of the world, apparently.
Yeah, I guess it is. They certainly got probably the biggest lobster in the world there. It's just a gigantic.
I think you're standing on it in this photo.
Yeah. Well, they got a fisherman out there or something like that,
Oh,
right?
okay, that's not you?
No,
I
that
thought
is, no, I didn't have, I think he was wearing yellow rain gear or something like that. But anyways, what a beautiful little town. Oh my God, it's just, especially the day I arrived, it was just filled with sunshine, beautiful. There wasn't really much wind. I was traveling very fast, and I just had to stop there, and I had my first lobster roll at a Subway of all places. And oh my God, people are just so friendly everywhere you go, and there were no exception. Darn expensive lobster roll, I'll tell you that. Like they're nearly $30 for this thing, which is much more than a normal Subway sandwich. But oh, so good. And that wasn't the first one I had either. I can assure you that. It was so delicious. I, again, encourage anybody to try one of those out for sure. Yeah.
And then Nova Scotia, we've got a shot here of a 7 foot tall lighthouse.
Approximately. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Who are they beaming out to?
Well, I don't know, but it's quite interesting. When you're in that part of the world, you'll see a lot of lighthouses on people's lawns. They just are there. And for that matter, there's a lot of people, I don't know if it's all across the Maritimes, but certainly in New Brunswick, there's a lot of people that got the New Brunswick flag and a Canadian flag. And sometimes a lot of them out in their front yards. And it's like, wow, isn't that beautiful? That is so nice to see, you know? And, you know, nothing ostentatious or anything like that. And the lighthouses just add to the whole thing. It's what they're all about. I think they used to have, or they still have 500 lighthouses or something like that around PEI, for instance. You know, it's very, very important. It's a big deal out there. Yeah.
Charles, we've got to change our cadence here a little bit because we've got about 2 minutes left and we still have to get through over the Confederation Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
There's a heck of a storm here that was going on. Tell us about that.
The only way you can cross that bridge is by car. And by bike, you cannot. You can't walk across that bridge. So it was just a bad day for a storm. It was a 50-millimeter day, lots of winds, and I know I ran into a thunderstorm later on because I felt like I was getting massaged by raindrops. And I thought, why is it so powerful here? That was probably the wettest, well, I don't know if you can call it the wettest, but it was certainly a very wet day. Yeah.
And you were shuttled across.
You have no choice.
Taken from a shuttle. It's too dangerous and too windy.
Yeah, they won't let you.
No. And then you into PEI. We've got some beautiful scenery of the farms there and the gorgeous PEI countryside, which is always a treat.
I saw it all basically from one end to the other. Yeah, by car. Yeah, I did not do that part by bike. I had to have a couple of days rest. Beautiful. Yeah.
And you made it to at St. John's, Newfoundland, and then to Cape Spear. What did that feel like at the end there when you're?
It was really good. I felt a sense of relief because I was done with all the weather. But 2 weeks afterwards, I felt like doing the whole thing all over again.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. Like after I came back, you know, about a week later, I came back and it's just like, I'm just about ready to do this all over again, weather permitting.
Did you fly home?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, Charles, we've run out of pedal time here.
It's been most enjoyable being interviewed by you.
Oh, well,
thank you so much.
It's been so nice to have you here to take us across the country, coast to coast. We really appreciate that. And we wish you all the best on your next adventures. And we'll probably have you back to talk about your Everest trip.
Oh, okay, sure.
Thanks, Charles.
Be a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us here on Coast Connections, and look forward to hearing about your next adventure as well. I hope Charles' journey has inspired you. Thanks. See you next time on Coast Connections.